Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Nightcap. This is yours truly. I'm sitting at a table on the back porch of my home, and sitting at one of the chairs at the table is a stuffed panda bear. Well, I put that stuffed panda bear in that chair just to lighten up the mood. I don't know, I just don't have it in me to make videos for this channel. But, I'm going to try my best, after all the damage that I did on this channel by alienating a lot of people. But, I can't dwell in the past, but I got to move on. Anyway, anywho, on this episode of Nightcap, episode number 3, okay, I want to talk about this. I've been hearing about the No Kings rally, the No Kings rallies that have been happening all over the United States because of Donald Trump and him being an authoritarian. The President of the United States, Donald Trump, is being authoritarian. And you got people running around and say that America doesn't need kings. We don't want no kings. We don't want no kings. And up in Canada, Canadians are very prideful of their country, elbows up. The true North, strong and free, as they say up there in Canada. Yeah, Donald Trump is siding with Russian President Vladimir Putin, a war criminal, a guy who's a former KGB officer, a guy that committed a lot of crimes like children being murdered. We have Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia, is behind this, and Vladimir Putin is a maniac. He's a genocidal maniac. He's a madman. I think he's an authoritarian dictator. He is that. Yeah, he's an authoritarian dictator, and he is. And and I'm just gonna say this, the war between Russia and Ukraine, the war between Israel and Hamas, Gen Z protesters in countries in Morocco and Madagascar in Africa. They want to be treated better by their country. And, all this stuff all this drama has been going on all over the world, also here in the U.S. and Canada. And I'm thinking to myself, I am sick and tired of all this drama. Drama, as the Canadians would say this. Drama. I'm sick of all this drama. I don't want to hear no more drama from your mama. I'm tired of all this drama. This drama. Too much drama in the world. It just makes me sick to my stomach, and it bothers me. Yeah, I know in this day and age, nobody gives a rat's ass what I think. But that's just fine, I can be just lonely soul, just talking away and Nobody gives a shit what I think. You know, and that's just fine with me. That's okay. You know, as I see it, I'm not going to get anywhere in this day and age anyway. Yeah, I guess, and yeah, people have short attention spans. Someone told me in the past that I'm out of touch and everything I say is dated. I'm out of touch and everything I say is dated. Okay, let me kick it up a notch. Let me stop being dated and stop being out of touch. Yeah, these no kings rallies all over the US. It's just a message to Donald Trump by Americans stating that they don't want no kings. They don't want a king. And we got the US Constitution. We the people. The US Constitution. But as I look at all of this, if I went to all these no king rallies here in the US, I probably won't make any friends, because let's remember this. I've been saying this in previous videos on this channel. The US lacks social or human connection. People are segregated, isolated, paranoid, and fake. People won't want to be in their own bubbles. People want to be in their own bubbles. They want to be left alone. They don't want to be bothered. And the only way you're going to talk to people in America is through business-related purposes. The dating scene is really bad. The women are defensive, paranoid, narcissistic, and hostile. They hate men. They think every man is Harvey Weinstein, Bill Cosby, Jeffrey Epstein, and R. Kelly. The United States lacks single-payer universal health care system. The United States lacks a single-payer universal health care system. Because of these for-profit healthcare companies like UHC, United Healthcare, Kaiser Permanente. Healthcare in America is a bureaucratic, nightmarish, for-profit, pay-to-play, dysfunctional, fragmented healthcare system that doesn't benefit poor people. It just benefits the wealthy. It benefits people who have a lot of money, who have the ability to pay. Healthcare in America is not a right. It's a privilege, which is sad. A low life expectancy, a low life expectancy, no paid vacation time by law, nothing. People are unhappy, grouchy. People are unhappy, grouchy, and repressed. And people can say that they're happy, but they're not. And I'm tired of hearing this all the time. Hi, how are you doing? And you say this, I'm doing fine. I'm sick of saying that. I'm tired of saying that. Like, why I gotta just fake this and pretend like I'm doing great 24/7, 365 days a year. Why I gotta pretend I'm being happy? Why I gotta pretend that I'm happy and optimistic 24/7? Why I can't say that, hey, I'm not doing so great. I'm miserable. I feel left out. I feel alienated. My feelings are destroyed because of because of the toxicity of American culture. Why come I can't say that? I gotta sit there and pretend like everything is going great. It just defies logic. It's insane. And yeah, all this seriousness and all this drama in the world today, and I'm not gonna say the world, I'm gonna say here in the US. Yeah, all this drama, all this toxicity. It just makes you makes you miserable. It makes you sad. But I guess you start crying here in the US, people will look at you like you're crazy. They wouldn't care. They wouldn't give a shit about you. Let's say if you live on the streets and you're homeless and you're suffering, people just walk by you and go past you like you don't exist. Like we don't care about you. Just lay on the streets and just die. We don't care. You know, and stuff like that is going to happen for years to come. And someone want to say, I want to build a legacy. I want to leave a legacy because I'm not going to be here forever. I'm going to leave a legacy. Legacy of what? And I'm gonna be a mentor and mentor the next generation. The next generation is pretty small, and like most of the people, children of the next generation, were killed off by a gunman through a mass shooting. Yeah, loose lax gun laws and the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed, which is in the U.S. Constitution, which allows anybody, regardless if they have a criminal record, if they're sick in the head, or they have anger issues, because they were destroyed and ripped apart by a toxic society that pushes them over the edge, pushes them and pushes them until they snap, which they just want to end their lives by committing suicide or commit suicide through mass shootings and school shootings. Yeah. To these people who want to mentor a child or a lot of children, young people of the next generation, well, who are you going to mentor? You're going to mentor a corpse, dead bodies. Or if you're lucky, you're probably going to mentor a child who is a survival of a mass shooting, who is traumatized by mass shootings. So, yeah, me being a mentor, I probably won't be a mentor. I probably won't get near anybody's kids at all. But, if I was a mentor, I'll tell them this. I'll tell a child this. Don't live in the USA. Get out of the USA and live abroad. Move abroad, excuse me. Get out of the USA and move abroad. Don't ever come back here ever again. I never lived in another country I've been living in the U.S. all my life. And, you know, I want to get out. I want to get out of America. And I really do. I really do. You know, and speaking of, you know, drama in the world and drama in the news, I want to stop watching the news. The news is just depressing, and it is. Okay, yeah, I got a problem with this. I got a problem with sensitive people people in the current generation, people who are sensitive, and they get butthurt over every little thing. Case in point, I was listening to a radio station in Canada on TuneIn Radio. Okay, I don't remember what the name of this radio station is. I think, yeah, okay. The name of this radio station is a CBC radio station. Okay, it's like this. I heard about a guy who went to a high school somewhere in the Canadian province of Alberta. He went to a high school there to do a speech. And he was speaking to a lot of high school students at this high school. And the high school students were being very rowdy. And the guy who was speaking, I don't know what he was talking about. The radio station didn't explain what he was talking about. Okay, the guy who was the speaker at that high school said this to the students. How about I take you, put you on my knee, and give you a spanking? That offended a lot of high school students. And one of the high school students spoke in an interview. And I think it was a teenage boy. He was 17 years old. And he said this. I was very offended by what he said. I mean, we are a democratic society, and we shouldn't have people speak that way. I think that's what he said. And the interviewer said that, the guy who did that speech, who told all of you that he was going to take one of you, put one of you on his knee and give you a spanking. And he apologized to all of you, and he said he's deeply sorry because of what he said. The teenage boy, the 17-year-old boy, said this. What he said, him apologizing, was inappropriate. It was wrong. And when I heard all of that, I was just completely shocked. I was baffled. And I'm saying to myself, this guy apologized to you. He admit that he was wrong, what he said. And you're going to crap all over him like his apology doesn't mean anything. He admit that he was wrong. And I got a problem with this generation. I got a problem with them. I got a pet peeve with them. And I know these people are not going to watch the videos on my channel. They're going to find my videos as boring, and my videos suck, and this channel sucks. And I don't give a shit. I don't care. Political correctness, people being sensitive, people being offended by everything, is too PC nowadays. Too PC. And, everything nowadays is just boring. Boring, flat, and empty. And I guess like stuff that's politically incorrect, you have to talk about this stuff and watch this stuff online in isolation because of a PC society. Political correctness is just flat out evil. It just makes people bitter. It makes people brittle, angry, irate, full of anger, lashing out at anger, being miserable, and all of that affected me. You guys can see that on the older videos on this channel. To these people who are sensitive, people who get offended over every little thing, people who embrace political correctness, it doesn't matter if they're conservative or liberal. It doesn't matter. And President Trump is offended by every little thing. Every little thing. Yeah, that led to Stephen Colbert and Jimmy Kimmel to lose their jobs, being late night TV show host or chat show host. Yeah, Jimmy Kimmel got fired and his show was going to be canceled. Late Night with Jimmy Kimmel on ABC, which I don't watch. And I don't. He gets his show canceled, then his show comes right back. His show is back on the air. And Donald Trump thought he got rid of Jimmy Kimmel, and he got rid of Stephen Colbert over on CBS. It's insane. It's like you can't make fun of people. You can't make fun of people. You can't joke around. You can't say something that's hilarious. Joking around, making fun of people, and laughing. That's good for our health. It's good for our health to joke around. That makes us feel good about ourselves. But these people who are politically correct, political correctness, they don't see it that way. Everything gotta be politically correct. You make a joke about someone, it's deemed as offensive. It's wrong. It's not right. It's ridiculous. And what kind of society, what society is going to be like in the future? Just seriousness, drama, no fun, no excitement, no nothing. I'm talking about the United States. I don't know what countries outside of the U.S. is going to be like. So I don't know. Yeah, they're different anyway. Some countries, believe in having fun and joking around and being happy. Not in the U.S. or in Canada. And going back to that 17-year-old high school student in Alberta, in Canada. Alberta, that conservative province in Canada. This kid didn't care about that guy apologizing. That guy who admit that he was wrong. He just crapped all over this guy. When I was his age, I never did anything like that. I never crapped over adults. As a matter of fact, if an adult told me this, I wouldn't go around and say, oh, I'm offended by what he said. He said he's going to put me on his knee and spanked me. I'd probably tell my parents about it. or I probably wouldn't care. But yeah, I think society, I think people, I think the current generation and the next generation, I think these people need to sit down and just have a conversation, you know, and just, something that bothers them, just talk it out, and just talk it out, put it behind you, and that's it, No, I think the current generation, I think the next generation won't believe in anything like that. So, these people are going to send mankind back to pre-Homo sapien days. I guess in the future, if people get offended about something, everybody's going to take all their clothes off, climb trees, get to the very top of trees, and everybody going to start throwing shit at other people, start throwing their shit at other people at the very top of trees. Just throw shit at people. Everybody's going to be throwing their shit at each other. People are going to be at the bottom, on the ground, and they're going to be hit by shit by people who are way up in trees, at the very top of trees, throwing their shit at people. You can't be like that. Like, that's just scary. Well, I can't say it's humorous, but I guess people ain't gonna find that funny. But I don't care. I don't give a shit, and I don't. I'm not talking like this just to get some views and some subscribers on my channel. I don't care about all that. I just want to use this YouTube channel just to speak my mind on things. I don't care if I get less views or more views. I don't care if I get likes or dislikes. I don't give a shit. If you find my videos boring, well, go fuck yourself. Okay? It's not my fault that you have a very short attention span. Yeah, we're gonna live in a world where everybody, human beings, Homo sapiens, are gonna be butt naked. Nobody's not gonna wear any clothes. Everybody's gonna act like monkeys. Climb to the very top of trees. People are gonna do that when they get upset over some. People who are gonna get easily offended over some. People who get easily offended over something. They're going to climb to the very top of trees, pooping out turds, and throw their shit at passerbys, other people on the ground. And they're going to act like monkeys. They're going to sound like this. Yeah. Yeah. Put the camera back in focus. Yeah, focus on the stuffed panda bear sitting in the seat. I'm gonna call him my co-host. Yeah, he's not gonna say anything. Well, anyway, yeah. The future is gonna be scary. I'm probably gonna be around to see that, but that's a good thing. I'm probably gonna be in a better place. Ain't gonna see any of this crap. So, yeah. Yeah, North America in general sucks. The United States and Canada are just boring countries. They're very, very boring. They're boring, you know. Some I want to say this. Oh, Canada sucks and the United States is superior. I'm not a cheerleader of either country. You know, the US and Canada, they're no better than one another anyway. You know, and I don't care about all this political stuff, healthcare, the way of life, the people. Yeah, well, I don't care. Yeah, I care about the way of life there and the people. I don't care about political stuff. You know, I'm, you know, I'm not a, I'm not a closed-minded person. I don't have a close. Yeah, I'm not closed-minded. I don't have a sheltered mindset. If I go to Canada, I see how Canada is. I'm not going to say this. Oh, Canada's terrible. I'm going to stay in the US. The US is better. The US is superior. No. I'm not going back to the US if I experience life in Canada. I'm going to move overseas. I'm going to move to another continent. I'm going to leave North America and move to another continent. I like Europe. I'm going to live in Europe. I'm going to live in one of the countries in Europe. But, looking at Canada, there's some people who don't live in that country anymore. And you got some people who live in that country. They complain about how bad it is. But I see how it is. The prices for homes are skyrocketing. Groceries are through the roof. The health care is really bad. People are put on a waiting list. People are waiting longer for care because there's not a lot. Because there's not a lot of doctors and nurses, and a lot of doctors and nurses to go around. No hospital equipment, hospital beds, anything. Yeah, there's not enough resources to meet the people's needs. And people, because it's not, because the healthcare system isn't fully funded. Some people are going to some people from Canada who despise Canada, and they're gonna say that I'm wrong. I just did some resource. I just not resource. I just did some sorry. I did some research. Okay. I did some research. My mind isn't that great, so yeah, forgive me. So, I don't know everything. I'm not trying to be a genius or everything. But if I live in Canada and see how it is there, I'll just give my thoughts. Yeah, the No Kings rallies all over the US. Canada has broken away from the US because of Trump's disrespect in his tariffs. The war between Russia and Ukraine, the war between Israel and Hamas, I think it went for a truce. I think it stopped. I think the war between Israel and Hamas stopped them. I haven't been keeping up with that as of late. Yeah, and the protests of Gen Z people who live in Morocco and Madagascar. are protesting over the governments in their countries not treating them fairly, not treating them right. So yeah, you know, um, you know, I just wish, I lived in another country. I wish I didn't live in the U.S. I wish I didn't live in the United States anymore. I wish I lived in another country. If I live in another country, I'll probably do better in that country outside the U.S. than here in the U.S. Let's face it, the United States is a sinking ship. Nothing's not gonna get better. The country's not gonna get any better. It's gonna get worse. It doesn't matter who's president. It doesn't matter if it's a conservative, Republican, or a Democrat, liberal. It doesn't matter. The United States it's almost dead. And it is. And all these people who do these no king rallies, they're all liberal. And I find liberal people to be angry and defensive and bitter, and they have axes to grind. And I agree with all the things that they're saying. I'm not far left. And I didn't vote for Donald Trump, and I look at the Republicans, the conservatives here in the U.S. They don't care about regular, everyday, normal, everyday people, and they don't care. All they care about is shoving lots of money into the pockets of their rich friends and making the wealthy wealthier and wealthier and wealthier. And at the same time, they just make the poor poorer and poorer and poorer. The Republicans are a bunch of assholes. They're heartless. They don't care. And I know some of them don't agree with Donald Trump and what he's doing. And you got the Democrats. You got them. They're just so weak. And they do nothing, Kamala Harris was completely weak. She pulled out an ad showing embarrassing men by making men cross their legs and making them act like women and telling them, I'm a tough man. I'm a real man. I'm so tough. I can braid my daughter's hair. And that is just so embarrassing. And it is. Kamala Harris shouldn't be embarrassing men. She should be fighting for everybody. Men, women, regardless of who they are. Men, women, LGBT people, gay, transgender, everybody. She should be for everybody. Should be talking about bringing in universal health care, bringing in paid vacation time by law, breaking up the big banks, that's dated, lowering the prices of groceries, making college tuition free, raising taxes on millionaires and billionaires and huge multinational corporations and lowering taxes for average, everyday, middle-class people. Making college tuition free. Universal child care. UBI, Universal Basic Income, UBI. Yeah, I didn't mean to get all political on you, all of you guys, but, I'm just saying, what's the point, The Democrats are weak. And what's the point? What's the point of voting for Republicans and Democrats anyway? What's the point? They both they both share the status quo. They're both for the status quo. They both share the same thing. They're both for the status quo. And what's the point of voting? What's the point of voting for one of them? They're not going to be for they're not going to do anything. What they do is not going to affect my life. But yeah, it is affecting my life. Donald Trump is in the White House, and his tariffs has driven prices sky high here in the U.S. And Donald Trump is insulting allies of America, Canada, our friendly neighbor to the north, trashing Canada, trashing them, slapping tariffs on them, calling Canadians mean and nasty. I've been to Canada. I'm not gonna say that Canadians are mean and nasty. I'm not gonna say that. It's just like this. It's just like here it's just like anywhere else. There's good and bad in every country. Saying that all Canadians are warm, friendly, polite people, and also saying that all Canadians are mean and nasty, it's just not true. Someone who has that mindset, who thinks like that, they just have a sheltered mindset. They're just ignorant of the world. And they are. People in other countries, they're not all nice, Some of them are nice, some of them aren't. I'm not gonna it's like this, women all over the world, it doesn't matter what country this woman is from. It doesn't matter what country she's from. It doesn't matter what race she's from. A bitch is going to be a bitch. That's just how it is. But I'm not going to say that all women all over the world are bad. There's some good women there's some good women in the world. There's some bad women in the world. And it is what it is. So, this video is kind of long, and and I just got a lot to say. I got a lot to get off my mind. I got a lot to get off my chest. So the world, everything is just so boring right now. Everything is drama. Everything is serious all the time. No nonsense. Everything is serious. No nonsense. Nobody cares if you're miserable or not. I'm talking about the U.S. It's just, and I made a video about social isolation, I had no idea I said this, I think the way I said it in that video, the social isolation video that's on my channel, it's gotten a lot of views. People choose to be alone. They want to be isolated from everybody. They want to be alone. Some people choose that decision. Yeah, they want to be isolated from everybody. They want to be alone. They want no one to bother them. And I don't think like that. I don't want to be like that. But to those people who want to be that way, I'm gonna say this. When you get old and sick, those people that you don't like, those people you don't want to be around, those people you tell to them that you don't want to be bothered. Let me tell you something. They're the ones who could be helping your ass when you're sick. You need to be, and you're hurt or injured, and you need to be put on a gurney, be put into an ambulance, and sent to a hospital, or be airlifted to a hospital in a helicopter. Yeah. Paramedics. Those people are going to be helping you. Okay? And I don't want to be alone. I don't want to be isolated from everybody. I don't want that. I want to be around people. I want to be in a society where people aren't toxic. If I'm in another country, if I live in another country, I don't want to talk about America. I don't want to see what goes on in America. But, I'm going to see what goes on in this country, but I'm not going to get involved. I'm going to just stay out of what goes on in this country if I live in another country. So, yeah. So, that's all I got to say in this latest episode of Nightcap. Episode number 3. Which is titled, Society is Falling Apart, Society is Boring. Yeah, and it is. So, I know it's kind of weird, yeah, I know it's kind of weird. Let me shine the light, okay. I know it's kind of weird having that panda sitting in that chair at this table that I'm sitting at, it's just a stuffed animal, He doesn't talk or anything. You guys see him. So let me see if I can turn the light on my smartphone. Okay. Yeah, there he is. Okay. My Nightcap co-host. A stuffed panda bear. He doesn't have a name, so I'm not going to he doesn't have a name, so I'm not going to give him a name. So, this makes me happy, and it does, get my mind off all this drama and seriousness that's going on in the world, that's going on here in the U.S. Donald Trump, the president of the United States, he's being authoritarian, and that's why he's like shutting up, talk show hosts, late night talk show hosts like Jimmy Kimmel and Stephen Colbert. Defunding PBS and NPR because they're talking about him in a negative way and saying that you're going to do things my way. Everybody's going to do things my way. Everybody's going to think like me. And before I end this video, Stephen Colbert and Jimmy Kimmel. Stephen Colbert and Jimmy Kimmel. I know some about these guys. And these guys came from some shows on Comedy Central. Okay, Jimmy Kimmel started out on Comedy Central. He was a co-host of a show that Ben Stein had that's titled You Can Win Ben Stein's Money. And also, Jimmy Kimmel was on another show on Comedy Central. he hosted a show alongside Adam Carolla, and that show is titled The Man Show. And I watched this show. This show is hilarious. That show was hilarious. I busted out laughing. You know, that's from the days when everything in the US wasn't politically correct. Everything was less PC back then compared to now. And oh my, how things changed. Also with Stephen Colbert, I think he was a co-host. I think he was on the show with Jon Stewart, titled The Daily Show. And he was with Steve Cottrell, whatever his name is. And they had this segment called Even Steven. Then Stephen Colbert had his own show on Comedy Central called The Colbert Report. And that's before he went to late night TV, to CBS, and became the host of Late Night with Stephen Colbert. So yeah. Yeah, I wish I had a time machine. I could just go back in time. I could just get out of 2025 and just go back to, like, I don't know, go back to the 2000s, the 1990s, the 1980s, or the 1970s. Yeah. Yeah. Go back to how America was back in those decades. Yeah, get out of 2025 America, because 2025 America blows huge goose dicks. It sucks. It sucks. Yeah. So, yeah. That's the end of the episode 3 Nightcap episode. So, I'm signing out. Thank you for watching. Take care and goodbye.